Welcome to the second session for this fifth module. So, in the previous class, we have taken a brief introduction about the fifth module syllabus, as well as we have discussed geothermal energy sources, and we have discussed what we mean by geo and what we mean by thermal. That is the heat that is being got entrapped in the earth crust is being used for the formation, for the utilization or the harnessing of the heat, that is for the generation of electrical energy. This geothermal energy is not only used for the power generation, but this is also used in few occasions for the space heating and cooling actions. Basically, geothermal is nothing but a heat that is being entrapped or which is being present within the earth. The word geothermal comes from, basically this is a Greek word, okay, so from which this has been extracted. It's a renewable energy source because it is continuously produced inside the earth. People use this geothermal heat energy for building heating and building cooling also, that we have discussed earlier. This thermal energy is the energy that determines the temperature of any matters, and this matter can be of anything. This geothermal energy of the earth's crust originates from the original formation of the planet and from radioactive decay of materials, and there are very much unknown materials still present in the earth's crust or the core part of the earth, which are undergoing some radioactive decay of these materials may be the reason for which the heat entrapped. Basically, what happens, this geothermal energy can extract or may be present in different ways. There are basically four main kinds of geothermal energy sources are available. Maybe a hydrothermal, that means the water, the hot water springs which are present, and then pressured. Even there are the rocks that is being formed. It is been identified that there are the places where the pressure is very much low. That means if you supply the water pressure will decreases much below its saturation pressure. Thus, it becomes a steam immediately. See, my dear friends, basically it is need not necessary that you have to increase the temperature in order to convert the water into steam. Even the variation of extreme pressures may also result to the formation of the steam from the water. So that is the second way, maybe geopressurized. And there may be hot, very hot, I don't say hot, it is a very hot, dry rocks will also be there. As I was telling you, these rocks may be kilometers together wider, and there may be meters together thickness, or maybe sometimes even the kilometers together thickness it may be. Is it clear? So that is dry hot rocks may be there. And then what we know, the volcano or lava, or we also call it as a magma. Magma is nothing but a hot molten material which is available, which is being found in the earth's crust. No, actually this hydrothermal resources are the only kind of a wide use, and its efficiency is limited because of its own restrictions, which we will discuss in the later part of the one. The other three sources, say for example, if you consider the earth crust, this is what the green color one is, the place where we are having the surfaces, or we have our own atmosphere, where this water, trees, everything, we are all living on this earth. This is the asthenosphere. Is it clear? So whatever you see that purple color, so if you can observe the figure, the green color one thickness, it is so small. As you go much deeper to around 400 kilometers, what you can see, this it is in a purple color, which is called as a upper mantle. If you go much deeper, this is the lower mantle, which is very much deeper, maybe around 2885 kilometers. So this red color lower mantle and upper mantle together we call it as a mantle one. Exactly. It is the one which is in touch with the lithosphere, that is the crust plus the the asthenosphere, that is what we call it as a lithosphere. This continental crust will be in touch with this mantle area, upper mantle and lower mantle. As we can see this, whatever the heat that we are extracting, it is only in the upper mantle. We cannot go much deeper into that because of our own restriction in the technology. Then the outer core and inner core. The inner core is still, we have not reached to this inner core part because it is around 1000 to 16 kilometers from the outer core. That means almost it comes to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8000 kilometers deeper it is. 8000 kilometers deeper it is. So it is difficult, very difficult to reach this place. So this is how the earth crust is being formed. Different layers or the different zones of the earth crust. Is it clear? Now, in order to harness this geothermal energy systems, let us go one by one. First, let us take this dry steam power stations. Dry steam power stations, basically stations utilize the steam that flows out of geodeposits to heat a secondary fluid that turns turbines to generate electricity. That means to say that there are the steams or the gases, it may be a hot gases or it may be a dry steams which are available in the earth, beneath the earth surface. Under the earth surface, whatever the hot gases or whatever the hot steams which are available will be utilized to convert a normal water into the steam, and then this steam will be used for the generation of power using a turbines. So this is called as a primary fluid, and the secondary fluid will be the working fluid. This hot gas has been directly used, maybe using heat exchangers. The steam emerges at a temperature of up to 150 degrees. 150 degrees is nothing but almost near to the superheated steam. Because only at 100 degrees centigrade there will be a formation of the steam. So it is just beyond the dry saturated steam. Is it clear? Then hot enough to expand the fluid in the geothermal plant. Now actually, if you can remember me, the first slide that I have shown it in the first presentation, we will have one heat exchanger. We will have an injection hole and we will have a production hole. Injection hole is the that we are just making the undissolved gases to escape out. The production hole, from which what is happening is a very hot steam or maybe the hot gases which are coming out will be subjected to a heat exchanger. What this heat exchanger will do, it is this heat exchanger, it comes and it goes out, it goes back to here, whereas the secondary fluid, it may be a water which we use it in a turbines, will be passed through this. The water which is passing through this heat exchanger, where this hot steam coming from the bottom portion of the earth will gives away its heat. It just gives away its heat and makes this water to convert it into steam, and this steam will be used to run the turbine blades, making the turbines to rotate and generate mechanical energy. Is it clear? So soon after this is one of the oldest technique of geothermal electricity generation. The expansion of the secondary fluid produces mechanical energy needed for turning the turbines blades to generate electricity. Okay. Dry steam plants use hydrothermal fluids that are primarily steam. These dry steam power plants, basically there will be a steam itself. This steam travels directly to a turbine which drives a generator that produces electricity. The steam eliminates the need to burn the fossil fuels to run the turbines, also eliminates the need to transport and store the fuels. No, basically, my dear friends, what we just the having is a second type is the second method of doing this from the dry steam. One way utilize this to convert the secondary fluid, and the second method is use this steam which is available at 150 degrees centigrade directly to enter into the turbines. So what happens, you might ask me, because it is been coming from the earth, below the earth, it will have a lot of dust and sand particles which can be separated using a separator. They will separate the steam which is coming out from the earth, inner part of the earth will be separated. The steam will be separated and the other particles will be separated. The steam will be given out for the turbine, whereas the separated particles will be thrown out. Okay, so this reduces the use of fossil fuels for burning and converting this water into the steam. Okay. Now, if you have a dry steam power plant which is shown over here, this is a production well, this is an injection well. From the production well, the steam will be coming out here, will be directly used into the turbine. Actually, there will be one separator will be there. This is just a skeleton sketch which just shows over here. There will be one separator where the steam will be separated, and this steam will be made to rotate the turbine blades. Thus, the mechanical energy will be utilized. And then whatever the outcome of this turbine, once the steam which is coming here and making the turbine blades to rotate, after striking out the blades, it loses its energy. So it is not leaving it to the atmosphere. We will send it back once again into the injection well. This is called as an injection well. After the striking the blades, it will go to the injection well. Once again, there will be a separator and it just goes off. This mechanical energy will be used into the generators. Okay, this is rock layers will also be there. Even in case of generating a generation of a steam also, we will supply the hot water over here, whereas this hot water will be heated and it will be instantly converted into the steam. Thus the converted steam will be sent to the production well. It will be made in such a way that if you have a surface over here, I will have the injection well over here and we will have a production well over here. Through the injection well we will supply the water, and from the production well we will take the steam. Is it clear? So the dry steam power plants are the simplest design. They draw the steam directly through the turbine. It then goes into a condenser where the steam becomes water directly. Second one is a flash steam power stations. This is the second type. One is a dry steam and the second one is a flash steam. This flash steam is a name given to the steam formed from the hot condensate when the pressure is reduced. High temperature condensate contains an excess of energy which prevents it from remaining in liquid form at a lower pressure. The result is that the excess energy causes a percentage of the condensate to flash. Water in wells under high pressure is drawn to a region where the low pressure, this pressure shift vaporizes the water, emitting steam at a high temperature. This steam is separated from the water and used to heat up a fluids that turns the turbines in the generator. On this pressure, the gas is at a very high temperatures. Flash steam plants takes a high pressure hot water from the deep inside the earth and convert it into steam to drive the generator turbines. When the steam cools, it condenses to water and it is injected back to the ground to be used again. Most geothermal plants are flash steam power plants. Now here the similar one, the same thing. This is called as a flash tank. This is called as a flash tank. So what happens basically, my dear friends, there will be a hot rocks which will be maintained at a very high temperatures. So basically what happens, the water will be injected over here with a very high pressure. Once the water has been injected with a very high pressure, there is always a pressure difference even in the under the lower part of the earth. Whenever this water reaches to the lowermost part of the earth, it is coming with a pressure. Maybe even if you take it as a atmospheric pressure, the atmospheric pressure is 1.0132 kilopascals, or it is 101.325 kilopascals actually, or 1.01 bars it is, I'm sorry. Okay, 101.325 kilopascals with pressure. If it is going, as they go deeper, the pressure will be decreased significantly. As the pressure keeps decreasing, this water will be converted into steam. Whenever the pressure of the water decreases, it will be converted into a vapor state. So the pressure will be so less or so minimum that this water will be converted into a dry saturated or a superheated steam, and it will have a very high temperature, and this will be extracted through the production well. Through we will take it out, and we will just push it to the turbines through the flash tank. Is that clear? So this is what we call it as the flash steam power plants. And 99 out of 100 times, all the geothermal energy thermal power plants are the flash steam power plants. Now the next one is a binary cycle power stations, and there are secondary cycle are also there. What do you mean by this binary cycle power stations? Exploiting the difference in boiling points as determined by density is the most recent method to be used. A fluid with a much lower boiling point than water is used in the system. This method uses water at temperatures of 58 degrees. Uses water at temperature of 58 degrees centigrade to heat the secondary fluid of lower boiling point. The water heats up the fluid and causes it to vaporize due to the lower boiling point, and turns the turbines to generate electricity. Ultimately, whatever we do it has to run. It has to be in a vapor state, and it has to run the turbine blades. Is it clear? Low to moderately heated geothermal fluid and a secondary is called as a binary fluid with a much lower boiling point. That water passes through a heat exchanger. A binary cycle power plant are closed loop systems, and virtually nothing except water vapor is emitted to the atmosphere. Now basically the idea behind of this is the binary cycle power stations. In the binary cycle power stations, we will not go much deeper into the geothermal energy sources. So what happens, we will go only a certain deeper, maybe around 400 or 500 meters, or it may be maximum of 1000 meters, or that is 1 kilometer deeper we will go it. So what happens there, the temperature will be a different one. The temperature may be around 58 degrees centigrade, or maybe 60 degrees centigrade. So what we will do it is, the 60 degrees centigrade which is available there in the earth crust, that itself will be used to convert into the steams, or to convert a working fluid which runs the turbine. For this case, what we will do it is, we will take a secondary fluid. A secondary fluid should have a very low boiling point. Say for example, if you take water, the boiling point is 100 degrees centigrade. If you take a refrigerant, if you take ammonia, the boiling point is minus 40 degrees centigrade. Refrigerant will have a very low boiling point. So the one boiling point which has got minus 20, minus 30 degrees centigrade, at 60 degrees centigrade, the liquid secondary fluid will be converted into a superheated vapor. A superheated vapor is sufficient enough to run the turbine blades. Is it clear? That is what we are just highlighting here. The water heats up the fluid and causes it to vaporize due to a very low boiling point, and turns the turbines to generate electricity. Now here, the moderately heated below 400 degree Fahrenheit geothermal fluid, and a secondary, that is the binary fluid with much lower boiling point, that water passes through a heat exchanger. Obviously, a heat exchanger, we always use it to transfer the heat from one fluid to the other fluid. Now, this system is a closed system. Is it clear? So, the virtually nothing, except water vapor, nothing has been emitted into the atmosphere. Low to moderately heated, that is below 400 degrees Fahrenheit, geothermal fluid and a secondary. Geothermal fluid can be a water or anything it may be, my dear friends, which is coming with 60 degrees centigrade. Even you might have observed, if you see the people who have swimmed in a river may experience this better. Now, if you have a depth of water in a river, the surface of the water will be pretty cold. As you go much deeper, you will feel the warm water. The water layers which are in touch with the earth's surface will be warmer. Why? Because it is taking the heat from the earth. Is it clear? The water which is above the, or which has been exposed to the atmosphere, will be cooled because of the movement of the air, which takes away the heat. So this is what an idea behind of it. So that is what we are saying it as a geothermal fluid. It can be a water, it can be a gas, or it can be an air, or it can be any geothermal fluid which is coming with some heat. And then the secondary fluid is nothing but any refrigerant or a liquid with a very low boiling point that passes through a heat exchanger. Binary cycle power plants are closed loop systems. The virtually nothing except water is being emitted to the atmosphere. Environmentally, binary plants possess key advantages in that they do not release the geothermal fluids into the environment. Okay, so in that case, I just shall explain that fluids into the environment. Earth's gases do not just include the water vapors. Earth gases do not include only the water vapor, they include nitrogen, carbon. This is what I just meant to say. They do not include only the water, that is the water vapors, they also include the nitrogen, or they also include the carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, mercury, radon and boron, anything. There are so many gases which have got entrapped. Maybe we use the gases, or maybe we use the steam, or maybe we use the hot water, maybe we use the springs which are available in the under the surface. So these are all the different sources, and that will be used. Now if you use this binary cycle power plant, wonderfully it has been given. This is an injection well and this is the pump. Now this is a heat exchanger. This is how it will be. Hope this is good. Now what is happening is, from the production well, from the production well, the hot brine, it can be a brine solution, or it can be a gas, or it can be anything which is hot, which we are getting it from the production well, will be coming over here. Now this red color one indicates that it is hot. As you can see it here, it is hot even in the pump also, and it is hot and hotter. Once it passes through the heat exchanger, please observe it here carefully. This hot brine solution or the liquid is getting losing its heat, that reduces the heat of this brine solution. Thus it makes the heat to be encashed by the fluid which is being moving with the other part of the heat exchanger. Is that clear? So this isobutane vapor, one of the isobutane vapor or the liquid that is being used over here, will be a secondary fluid over here. So this isobutane or the secondary liquid will have a very low boiling point. Is that clear? So this takes away the heat that is being brought from this hot brine. It takes away the heat and it becomes hot. That is why it is shown with a dark yellow. A dark yellow, which is in the vapor state, makes this turbine blades to rotate. Once it is been rotated, so this dark yellow is been reduced into a cream color or a white color. That means it has lost its heat or energy. Then once again it comes back and it will be taken away the heat from the heat exchanger, and this is a cyclic process. So after this turbine which has been rotated, which makes the generator to generate electricity. Is that clear? Now this is a condenser. This is a condenser where this cooling tower is being used to cool this condenser. What is the purpose of this condenser? Condenser is a one wherein which condenses a partially vapor. This isobutane which is coming out of the turbine will be a partial vapor. This partial vapor will be condensed much and it will be converted into a liquid. So the liquid isobutane will be entering into the heat exchanger, and then it becomes a vapor, and then it goes and it makes the turbines to rotate, and once it comes out it will be a partial vapor, and this partial vapor will be converted into a liquid isobutane by this condenser, taking away much heat of this. Okay, so this is how this surface will be, this binary cycle power plant does works. Okay, this is what I just shall show you once again. So this cooling tower, you might have seen it even in the thermal power plant. There will be a lot bigger cooling towers will be there. That is the reason why we will always circulate air or water, the cold air or water, in order to maintain the temperature of the condenser. Condenser is also a type of heat exchanger. Now in the first heat exchanger, where this hot brine is giving away the heat to the liquid isobutane and converting that into vapor isobutane, whereas the second heat exchanger is nothing but a condenser where this partial vapor of the isobutane will be converted into liquid isobutane and taking away the heat up by that. That is the beauty of this condenser as well as heat exchanger. This is the working principle of the binary cycle power plant. Now if you see this, the first sketch will show you a dry steam, and the second sketch will show you the flash steam, and the third one will show you the binary cycle. Okay, this is what we have studied till now. If you go through it carefully, the principle of extracting is same, but the methods differs it. Is it clear? Now if you see this, a blue color one is always a cold part of the system, whereas this red color one will always show you the hotter part of the system or a working fluid. Now you can see this a turbine which is a common factor in everywhere. Turbine is a common factor everywhere. So what happens in the dry steam? What happens? This ground surface, the steam is coming out and it is making the turbine blades to rotate directly. Okay, and directly, and then generating the electricity, and then the condenser is being used to condense it and put it back to the injection to the subsurface. Whereas here what happens, the same steam will be making with the separators, where only the steam is being used and to make the turbine blades to rotate, and this separated part of the steam which is coming out of the production well will be supplied back along with the condenser liquid. So what happens here in this binary system? The same, there will be a heat exchanger. There will be a heat exchanger where this heat exchanger exchanges the heat. So that means the direct fluid which is not at all been in contact with the turbines. We will use a secondary phase, secondary fluid which converts this energy. Now basically among all this flash type stream energy conversion systems are being more popular compared to the other two. It is only because in the dry steam what happens, the life of the turbine blades will be very less, because the most salt particles or it may be a sand particles which are coming out, though they have been filtered, they will not be effectively used, and it makes the turbine blades to decrease their life. So the maintenance will be more, maintenance required in this dry steam, it is more. And even when you compare to this binary cycle, where this binary cycle, the direct fluid which is coming out of the production well is not been directly used, so there will be a drop in temperature. If the production well, if it is coming with 150 degrees centigrade or it may be 100 degrees centigrade, so that will not be more effective compared to the flash steam type. It's only because it is exchanging the heat to the secondary fluid, where there will be a drop in temperature also occurs. Due to this drop in temperature, the efficiency of this binary cycle will not be much higher compared to the flash steam type. Okay.